Hi, everyone, and welcome to Book Club with Bay. I am Bay, and this is Bay. Say hi, Bay.
Hi, Bay.
And this is other Bay. Say hi.
Hello.
And today we were talking about Midnight Sun, the final-ish installment of the Twilight Saga.
Hopefully, the final.
Well, there's
installment.
a gender-swapped version of Twilight that we didn't cover because it's basically Twilight but gender-swapped.
Yeah, but I don't.
And the gender-swapped Edward becomes a vampire at the end of Twilight. Like that's kind of the only difference. But this is Twilight from Edward's perspective.
Yes,
and also is longer than all the other books.
It's twice as long as Twilight.
Yeah, and we were like, "What the fuck?"
Literally.
And also, I think my main reaction is, what the fuck? So, as always, running into this, ratings. So, easiest one, stan or don't stan.
I don't stan.
Look, there's lots of individual things that I do stan, but I do not stan the book.
Yeah, overall, I don't stan. You know what? I think we're all together on this. Had the book been the same length as Twilight,
or even
experience, yeah,
or even just like a little bit longer,
but
to
like
add,
maybe
like a tiny bit more context to some things, then like could have stand.
Yeah, like there's so much in this that is like really cool to know. Like it's really cool to know like what's happening. For example, when they meet James and that, all that background stuff.
Yeah,
really cool to know. However, it did not need to be 26 hours long.
Yes.
No.
So overall, don't stand. So overwhelmed or underwhelmed?
I mean, all of them.
I am all of the nerd parts where I'm just like, parts where I'm just like, yeah, this is cool, but like I'm not feeling like, But then I texted you guys. I got to the point where I literally went outside to Stixie and I was cry laughing for about 10 minutes because I think I still had about 4 hours to go. Or maybe that was when I only had a bit over an hour to go.
Well,
but
yeah,
I'm just
because that's what happened to me too. Like I was like, oh, good, we're done. And then I looked at it and it was still like an hour and a half to go. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's 200,000 words.
It was on double speed, which I was like, that means that there's 3 hours to go. I was like, wow.
Like, okay, in listening time, just for perspective, Twilight is 12 hours and 51 minutes long. Like in audiobook length. The audiobook length for this one is literally, let's exit out of you. Audio min. Shut up.
I don't want to hear this.
It's 25 hours, 48 minutes, and 27 seconds long. So when I say 26 hours, I'm exaggerating by like literally 11 and a half minutes.
Okay, so I just looked up the word counts. It's 50,000 words longer.
Than
Breaking
Dawn or Twilight?
Than Twilight.
And like
apparently it felt a lot longer.
It felt so long. And it actually took me.
I don't see
after
how
I finished
50,000 words could account.
Let me check a different site.
Here, let me look. Hold on, that doesn't feel right. Let me check something.
Yeah, so I've gotten 2 conflicting word counts for Midnight Sun.
I know how to get like a thing.
Like the accurate word count?
Yeah, I got you. So okay, well, Twilight is 125,000.
Okay.
Ish. Midnight Sun is 240.
Wow. Okay, what source is that? How do you?
So that I did that from Kobo because Kobo just gives you the word count.
And Kobo's going to be the most accurate. Okay.
Yeah, because that's just where like the ebook is uploaded.
That makes sense.
Like when my ebooks are on there, like our ebooks are on there, and it just gives you the word count.
Okay.
That's so it's literally almost double the word count.
Yes, it's almost up. Which because I was like, there's no way the listening time got doubled.
If it was only I was like, that does not sound right.
With only 50. I mean, unless like the first one was 50K, and then no, like,
that's also a really long audiobook for 50K.
Yeah, it was like a 50K audiobook would be like 6 hours, maybe.
Yeah. But
I know too
like
much.
one of the things though as well that's hard though is like a lot of the extra tidbit stuff. I wouldn't want it like, you know, I enjoyed knowing, so I don't exactly know exactly what I would cut.
I know exactly what to cut.
I mean, there's stuff I know that I would definitely cut, but it still wouldn't cut down the length.
Well, I think
lot.
what would cut down the length a lot would be
Edward stopped being an angsty whore.
so yeah.
Well,
Pages on end.
yeah, like we got about two or like okay, I don't know because I was listening to it on double speed, but it felt like it would have been about 2 pages worth of oh no, what will happen when she sees me in the sun? She's
Yeah.
going to be horrified.
It's that,
and I'm just
then like when they're about to go to the meadow, he spends like fucking chapters going, I don't know if I should do that. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Just take her or don't. Kill her or don't. I'm literally done. Like,
Yeah. And
eat her or let her live.
Hi people in Twitch chat, what's going on? And yeah, so that's the thing is like what would have cut down on the word count significantly would have been just not freaking repeating shit we've already heard.
And
like we get it, Edward.
Mhm.
You're an angsty boy. And you know what? I can appreciate that. You're a broody vampire. I get it. But like I don't, because that's the thing too, is like, you know, have a character brood about like a thing, but if you're gonna have them brood extensively, it needs to be like a big thing. Like they need to have just, I don't know, killed somebody for the first time or some shit like that, or they need to have not brooded over it before. So if he has already done brooding about the fact that he's a monster and he doesn't want to be seen as a monster, then it needs to be like a one-line thing, like, I'm worried still. Like, all right, thank you. Noted.
Yeah, like it's been 80 years.
yeah, and one thing as well that it frustrated me, but then when I remembered, like she kind of combined 2 of her things in this book as well. Like each book, we know each book has a theme, like a literary theme, like comparison. Then the cover art has its own metaphor, like Twilight, forbidden fruit. I can't remember, like New Moon is like the flower with the blood. I can't remember exactly what the metaphor for that one is. But then Eclipse was the ribbon, which represented Bella's like last thread to humanity or whatever. And then the chess pieces, like the threat was like the pawn at the back or whatever. So like there's that, and then there's also always a subtle reference to, the title is always explicitly stated, but as a throwaway comment. So we got the title throwaway comment in this, but she combined the cover art with the literary theme of the book, and I wasn't prepared for it, and it wasn't until like after I sat and thought about it, I'm like, oh, she just combined the two, but it was still really annoying. I was so sick of hearing about freaking pomegranate seeds. Like
she was like Persephone, and I was gonna give her the forbidden fruit, and she was gonna become I'm not underworld.
Like,
fuck Edward now.
Calm
down. The cover art makes sense now, but I'm also like, could you have not picked a different?
The food rating.
Rotten, dirty.
Oh yeah, I think we all have a guaranteed the disgusting pomegranate on the front of the cover.
Yep.
Rotten pomegranates.
So we're not going to go through the plot because we know the plot. It's the same plot as Twilight.
We also a lot of times with book club, we'll go through characters.
There's no point.
I will say that actually, like, we're not going to go through the characters themselves, but I will say there was a lot more Emmett and Rosalie in this book than I was prepared for, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I was cool with that too.
I was glad that we got a lot more page time with Emmett.
I was as well.
And a lot of people I've seen dislike Rosalie so much more after this book. I love Rosalie. I love Rosalie. She's a fucking bitch. Yeah. And I appreciate it. Like, my favorite quote of the book comes from Rosalie. which is "Goggle at me, you bat-faced little nuisance."
I honestly don't mind Rosalie's bitchiness in the book. Like,
one thing that I did mind about her bitchiness was Edward knows where the bitchiness has come from. He knows that only part of it is like, you know, her being a vain little bitch. The majority of it is whatever, but Edward, even internally, even though he knows better, he keeps just brushing it off as, well, Rosalie's just being a self-centered whore.
right.
Yeah.
When he knows that that's not really the case.
Like, it's part of the case, but it's not really the
It's not the
issue.
full picture.
Right. Like her thing is more, why would you throw away being human?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we knew.
Yeah, because and Alice in this, because I read the leak, you know, whenever it leaked, I think it was like 10 years ago, which was the first 12 chapters. Not a lot changed from memory, like nothing was cut from what I've read. I didn't reread the first 12 chapters of the leak, but from what I saw online, the biggest change is stuff was added in, like it was even longer than the initial leak. But I'd forgotten that Alice gets all like, "Can I meet my best friend yet? Can I meet my best friend yet?
Yeah.
Edward, I want to meet my best friend already. Can I do it yet?" And I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's like, I love her, or she's like, I love her. You can't fucking kill her. Here's your two options that I've seen. Option one, not a thing. You have to turn her into a vampire one day. Boom.
Yeah, and seeing, I liked also seeing the flashbacks were cool, like, you know, like, because we actually got to witness this by a flashback, Rosalie bringing Emmett to them.
Yeah.
Which was nice. And Alice and Jasper rocked up when like Emmett and Edward were off hunting, and then like they get back. Alice is there and she's like, "Oh, Edward, my best brother ever," and he's like, "Who the fuck are you?" And then she visions him all the shit, and he's like, "Oh, you're my best friend now." Because she also imaged him like about like a century's worth of like future visions of the two of them being best buds, and it's like, okay, well, I guess we're best buds then.
I guess this is happening.
So I liked the time with the Cullens. I liked that we got more time with
since
the
that was all
Cullens.
new.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
One thing I didn't like them extrapolating on, although I do think it's clever in a way when Stephanie Meyer did this. I texted you guys about this as well. Like this, when Edward's having his question day with her, and aside from a couple of questions, it was he just rapid fired questions at me all day. You know,
Yeah.
we got to sit through all of the questions and answers in this book, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I
right.
give zero fucks about any of this.
Like I get it. You're just about 15 years late at fleshing out Bella's personality.
But I feel like though, and what that might have been come by is because Bella doesn't have a very high opinion of herself. So because Twilight is from her perspective, those things about her and everything she doesn't find interesting. So Bella as the character doesn't feel the need to tell the reader. Whereas Edward, who finds her the most fascinating on the person on the planet, wants to tell the reader everything about her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's kind of clever if that was the intent.
Yeah, if that was the intent.
However, I still don't care.
Well, one thing that I think, something about that those question sessions that kind of creates a bit of an issue, at least with the tone, was that at one point Edward's like, "So dates and stuff." And Bella's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Have you ever been on a date?" And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Oh yeah, why not?" And she's like, "Well, I just don't like dick." And he's like, "Never?" And she's like, "No, I don't like penis." And it comes off really weird. Now I completely understand that the point is supposed to be that
I've never liked
this
one
one
for you.
Yeah, that like Edward's penis is so strong. But like in the context of like, 2020, it totally comes off as like Bella just doesn't like Dick. And it's just such a weird thing to put in. It's such a weird thing to put in that Bella has never been attracted to anybody.
Well, I will say that was in Twilight, though. Not as much detail, but it was in Twilight that for her, she discovered after meeting Edward that love and lust go hand in hand. Because she never was attracted to anybody before she fell in love with Edward. So that was in there, but just not as... It was more of a throwaway, or like, just a sentence instead of, 3 pages worth of build up to it. So
yeah, it was just like
Bella's not like other girls. It was like that.
It hit weird. It hit weird, and I will say this on Edward's angstiness. If we can touch on that. So Bella's codependence and situation could be solved with some college-age drinking problems and like a hoe phase and like maybe a bi-curious phase thrown in and some college-aged heartbreak. Like that, you could fix Bella, okay? Edward needs a straitjacket. Oh my God. Like, Edward's issues are so much worse than Bella's issues. His codependency problem is like she looks normal.
Yeah, I mean, he literally
Edward.
stalks her. The entire first part of the book is him thinking, wow, I really want to murder her. Let me envision every single way I could murder this hoe. And then it's like, I'm going to stalk her.
I mean, I did, low-key, I burst out laughing when he was like, she's so accident prone, a meteor is going to hit her house tonight type thing. I must go watch her sleep. And I'm just like, I mean, I know he would never get caught by the cops, but like, let's just say he's human, but he's still like as weirdly protective over this, accident prone mortal. I'm sorry, officer. I'm not being creepy by standing vigil in her bedroom all night. I just want to be here to drag her out in case a meteor hits.
Or, hi, Officer Charlie, Bella's father. No, I'm not doing anything weird in your daughter's bedroom other than just watching her sleep. Because I'm scared.
And speaking of her sleeping, there is a sentence that really fucking got to me. It really got to me. It's the first night that she knows that he's spending the night in her room. So like they're snuggling and he waits till she falls asleep. And then, because Bella apparently is a very talkative sleeper and a very active sleeper. Like she tosses and turns a lot. But the way Edward described it triggered me a little bit because I feel like there is a better way to phrase this. Where is it?
Oh my God.
I gazed at her now, deep in her dreams. I'd moved to the floor beside her bed when she'd begun her nightly gyrations. And I'm just like...
That line.
Like, because, I mean, I understand that gyration, like the word gyration technically is not incorrect. But the way that the word is most consistently used in a day-to-day vernacular. Right. I am picturing her freaking humping the air in her sleep, and it's not comfortable.
Couldn't have gotten out of thesaurus.
He also, this is a completely different time, but like he in his mental dialogue, he says we both also lusted.
Lusted.
What the fuck,
so
Edward?
Adult. and so like 13th century. I don't know. Like
it's like if she decides to do the rest of the series
from
Edward's perspective,
no.
I am just waiting, low-key waiting to hear him internally refer to sex as fornication.
Right.
No, Bella, we can't fornicate, I thought. No. The rapturous fornications. That's which I wanted to engage.
And it's hard because I'm I want to talk about the things that like I did enjoy in the book and stuff. But make no mistake, I did not enjoy reading the book. I just enjoy knowing these things. If that makes any
there's
sense.
a lot of moments in the book where like I went, oh, okay, that's
Like,
fun.
Like Edward and Emmett setting up Angela and Ben.
Yes.
I liked that. I
cute.
really liked that because, you know, it's also the most stupid thing what they did. Like, oh, Edward, tell me about that girl you asked to prom. Oh, Angela Weber, no, she rejected me because she likes Ben Chaney. Edward, he's right behind you. Oh dear, my bad. And it's like this whole thing. I'm just like, it's so teen movie.
Yeah,
and I
but
enjoyed
like,
it. And I
at least
enjoyed
it's new
it.
content because most of this book was not new stuff.
I was like, most of the high points in this book were all just things that were new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, okay, well, like when James and Victoria and that rock up at
The baseball
the
game.
baseball game, like one thing that we don't see because it's Bella's perspective and everyone just like suddenly went, oh crap, oh what do we do? I don't know. I guess we'll just have to keep playing. And I'm thinking like, you know, there couldn't have been a way, but you know, we got to see Alice going through all the different options in her head and stuff. And sometimes they went on a little bit long. Sometimes
Yeah.
Alice going through her visions went on a bit too long. But we got to see exactly why they couldn't leave. And then they knew that there was a 50-50 shot of it going either standoff way or peaceably parting way, and they didn't know what was going to be the difference. Turned out it was the little breezy breeze. But also, because I'm not going to lie, I don't know if you guys wondered this, but part of me always wondered as well, like, there's no way that they still wouldn't have noticed Bella. But this explained that, like, Edward was tapping his foot in time with her heartbeat to try and disguise it. But then Jasper also, because Jasper can manipulate people's emotions and stuff, he made himself, because he's actually the biggest threat in the group. And Jasper, being military-minded, wanted that to be a surprise. So he made himself, Alice, Esme, and Bella more or less so uninteresting that they might as well have been invisible in the clearing.
Which was interesting because Jasper's one of the most interesting characters.
Yeah.
As far as his backstory goes.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was really fun to see his powers actually kind of matter, at least in that scene, you know. And so, yeah, that was really fun to see play out. Like, that was actually an interesting bit of the book.
Yeah, I like, because as well, like, it takes Edward until about halfway through that whole conversation to like click on that that's what was happening. Also, though, one thing I found kind of interesting was, you don't think about this, but like when the vampires are like just talking amongst themselves, they tend to talk really fast because they work at super speed. It was really nice of them to just coincidentally have a human speed conversation without knowing that Bella wasn't a human. Because in reality, Bella wouldn't have been able to understand any of that conversation because they would have just been talking at vamp speed the whole time.
Yeah. Another thing that was interesting was a lot of Edward's like interactions and stuff with Billy Black.
Oh yeah.
I will say though, a lot of his reactions to like that whole situation it felt over the top. Like,
yeah,
Edward's very over the top and dramatic.
Like it felt.
I mean, he's a 17-year-old boy, but
he always more than that to like, I can just kill the whole tribe, and it was always just like,
just murder's the answer, guys.
Yeah,
and it was always just like, what? Because that doesn't seem appropriate, but okay.
So yeah, and at this point as well, we learned that they still have. They're unaware of the presence of the wolves at this point. They thought, like, and we get a throwaway sentence later on. We thought when we came back, all the wolves were gone. Everything was hunky dory. So cool. And yeah, at this point, I think Sam's probably a wolf by this stage. They just don't know
No,
that
yeah.
know it yet. But we also got to witness again by a flashback, because there's lots of flashbacks in this book. We got to witness Carlisle calling Billy to be like, "Hey, Billy, so your granddaddy and I had a treaty thing, and just a heads up, this is where we'll be living." And so we got to witness
Hope
that,
this
which
treaty can continue.
And there's also like it's a throwaway line, but it was a neat little throwaway line of, you see in Jacob's head, Jacob being like, "This house smells gross."
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. At the prom, like in his head, he's like, "God, Bella's wearing an awful perfume. Like, she's still super pretty, but fuck, she stinks." And Edward's like, "How? I don't get it." Yeah, like there's a lot of cool little tidbits that I enjoy in it, but
Yeah, like we also
was
get to see more of the James hunt at the end too.
oh, that I kind of enjoyed that. Again, it still felt like it went on too long.
Yeah, it did. It went on way too long. But
Like if this book was like even two-thirds the length that it is, I would have thoroughly enjoyed the book. But
Yeah.
it just had no business being that long.
There's also like, the other thing is that in Twilight itself, the book, because this is something we said in our Twilight stream, is that Edward doesn't come off anywhere near as angsty as like he comes off in the movie or something like that. You know, he just doesn't seem like that.
Yeah.
He's funny, he's quippy, like he's kind of interesting. Like there's like, it seems like there's a lot to him, but then like once you're in his head,
I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up.
like he's a whore. I don't like being in Edward's head.
No.
But it would but from what you get out of him in Twilight, he seems like he would be a fun head to be in.
But then you're there and you're like, oh god,
then you're there, you're like, get me out of here.
Command Z.
Yeah, you're like, Command Z, please get me out. I want out. Which is unfortunate because I feel like had we been in the
Edward we thought,
the Edward's head that was in Twilight, because this was like not the same Edward. This just was not the same character.
I will say though, like a lot of his actions in Twilight though also make a lot more sense now. Like him, I mean, like we knew that we knew because he told us that he was struggling with, you know, I like you, but also I want to kill you.
I want to eat you.
And so him acting so bipolar, like you didn't question it, but it was also like, what the fuck is he thinking? Well, now we know what he was thinking, so it makes more sense. But also, it felt in Twilight as well, because Twilight's a much shorter book, and the pre-declaration phase seemed so short between him being like blah to I love you. That felt more natural on his part in this one, because we got a lot more context to it. We actually saw what he actually found interesting about her, because again, Bella doesn't think much of herself, so Bella's not going to tell the reader that, you know, oh, I stopped people from making fun of people today. But Edward notices that a lot, so we get a lot more of her character and because that's one thing as well. What the fuck does Edward see in her?
Well, we actually find out, which honestly, I did find that clever. Like, because there are hints to those pieces of Bella's personality, like her being the caretaker of both Charlie and her mother. Like there are genuine hints of that in Twilight.
Are you laughing about him meeting Renee?
Yeah, that was funny.
Judgy piece of shit. Oh my god.
I like Renee so, like, Renee from Bella's perspective, it's just like, look, she's kind of an irresponsible mother, but like, bless her. This one, I'm just like, you're an awful mother.
Yeah.
You're an awful freaking mother.
Well, I actually thought that was done well, because Bella definitely sees her through rose-colored glasses, but like from Edward's perspective, because he can read her mind, you know, you see Renee thinking things like, well, heartbreak happens, I guess, and blah, blah, blah. And then she has the thought of like, wait, shit, didn't I do that to Charlie? No, it's fine. And then you're like, interesting. So like we do genuinely get like tidbits of like, dare I say it, genuinely good writing and stuff like that. It's just like,
it's just overwhelmed by the bad.
I mean, like what this book was very cleverly written. It was very cleverly written, but again, because like regarding the content, once you minus all the overdone angst, I like a lot of the content.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
and it's hard. It's so hard.
It is really hard because there's a lot of stuff to like, and you can also tell that there's once you minus all the bad. And the bad is really just that like it needed some big cuts. But you can tell that there's a massive upgrade to the quality of the writing and the thought put into it and all of that kind of stuff. Like there's a ton of that there. There's a ton to like you get even more context to Charlie and you get some more confirmation out of it because you know that Charlie loves Bella and that he's worried about her and that he just doesn't know how to deal with it. But you get more confirmation and more insight to that. And it's interesting. There's a ton to like here and there's a ton to get out of it. And it adds a lot.
But it's like, give me the spark notes.
Right.
Yeah.
But it could have been just a little bit longer than Twilight and you would have gotten this and you would have gotten just all the good. It could have been honestly the best book in the series.
Like if she'd cut out even 50% of the angst, it would have been a 200 times better read.
Yeah.
Because
would have been
because a lot of the angst was repetitive. Like most of the angst was so repetitive that it just
that was really the problem.
Could have been cut. If it was new angst every time, then it probably would have been different again. But it was.
And we get it. You want to kill her.
And that's one thing that I'm just so disappointed because I've been waiting for this book for 10 freaking years. For like almost my entire adult life, I have been waiting for this book, and I was so excited. And then I saw how long it was, and I'm like, we'll see.
Why?
And then reading it, like half the book is just him angsting, and everything else I liked, but I couldn't enjoy it because I was just like, how much longer do we have?
But if I can give one compliment to like Stephanie Meyer in general, it's like on Bad Book Weeks, we're constantly talking about how the authors were we're constantly talking about how the authors we're reviewing are either getting worse by the book or staying the same. And you know,
she improved.
And this, I would say, is a vast improvement because it feels like it ties a lot of things together.
Yeah.
Once you ignore the bad. You just get so much more context to so many more characters because Edward can read minds. So it's almost like a third person omniscient. Yeah, which is cool because like you get answers to things that aren't just Edward. And you get to see inside of Renee's mind. You get to see Renee from like a more omniscient perspective. You know, it's a really cool, there are so many cool and interesting moments, and I wish that it wasn't bogged down by the length.
Like I loved every time Edward thought about Mike Newton.
Yes. Oh, that was fun.
It was funny though.
That was more of the Edward that we saw in Twilight.
But I honestly kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, like that was more of the Edward that we
But I also
knew.
Another detail that I really enjoyed though was the realism of Mike finding out that Jessica's into him and him just being like, "Oh, well, I like this now." Like, and just completely
this is my puss now.
Yeah, like, because that is for a 17-year-old boy, that's so realistic for him to just like completely 180. And like, I enjoyed that detail.
Yeah, like his thought process was like, at first he was like, Jess, really? And then he was like, oh, well, she is hot. Like, she's and
okay.
Yeah. But, okay, well, if I'm not going to get Bella, might as well have Jess then.
Yeah.
And then he goes on over. And And Jess as well, like it was, I mean, I think we all suspected this, but it was nice to have the confirmation that from the first meeting, she was only friends with Bella for the status.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice to have the confirmation.
And I will say this, you know, a girl coming to a new small school and being the new chew toy, that's a thing. Addie and I would know. Like it's a total thing. And then things kind of settle into place. And the other thing is that the way that Bella is described from Edward's perspective is people just want to talk to her and they're into talking to her and they feel like she's kind of a motherly figure and they feel like they can just spill their guts to her. It kind of, I felt like it was well described and it was well portrayed. It reminded me a lot of how Anna from Alpha and Omega is portrayed. And I bought it, honestly.
Yeah. And one of the things that was interesting as well is, because we haven't discussed this yet, Charlie's mind. Edward has always just assumed that Charlie was a little bit slow, because he never got much from his mind and he never really cared to try to. But then he realized in this book when he was actually trying to, he more or less mainly gets like impressions from Charlie as opposed to spoken word. Whereas Renee
is loud.
She's loud. All of her thoughts are just shouted, and that kind of naturally gets people to, they pick up on it, what she's projecting. And one thing I did find interesting was Edward was like, I wonder if, if she was a vampire, if that would turn into everyone being able to hear her thoughts. A bit like, and then he was like, it might work a little bit like Jasper's thing, but I think everyone would hate to be near her.
Yeah.
But, and then he worked out, that Bella is kind of like a mixture of the two of them where, Charlie's mind is cloudy, whereas hers is blocked off. And whereas Renee gets everyone to do exactly what she wants just by thinking it loud enough, people are still drawn to Bella in a way. And I liked having that added in there as well.
Yeah.
Because Bella from Twilight, she's a character. She's, I thought she was, she's enough for a romance and everything. But it still didn't make sense to me why every guy in the school still wanted to bone her come book 3. And it makes more sense now. A lot more about how everyone interacts with Bella makes a lot more sense now. That Edward's told us why.
Yeah, the other thing is that I do actually buy that was the intention all along.
Yeah, well, a lot of the stuff that happens in this book, I feel like she knew from the get-go was actually happening, because it all fits too cleanly for it to be retconned in later.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. And the other thing is that when you actually think about writing and how it works and actually writing something from first person, these are things that Bella would not know about herself or would not even know to think about herself. Like, she wouldn't know to think, well, Charlie's mind is cloudy and Renee's mind is blah, 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 and therefore my mind is this and I'm just naturally blah, blah, blah. Like, she wouldn't know to think that.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing she would know to think is, well, I'm a new chew toy.
Yeah. And one of the things that I also found kind of cool was like them in Phoenix. Again, this scene went on way too long, but them getting from the airport to the ballet studio.
Yeah.
That was well done.
Again, way too long.
But we got and this was one of the times as well where witnessing Alice changing everything to fit and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We saw a bit too much of it, but we got to witness, Alice, picking the car. They picked the car based on Alice being able to see where the roadblocks would be set up, how they got to wherever, and then even getting from the ballet studio to the hospital, and Alice working on the alibi and everything. She went through about a million different scenarios before she was like, this is the correct course of action. It was kind of cool to see how that happens.
Yeah.
Just shorten it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the biggest thing in this book. It's just shorten it.
Yeah.
Just trim it down, cut the fat a little bit, and it would have been best Twilight book ever.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, it would have been. Because I think without all the garbage, it feels like a really good companion piece to the original book.
Yeah, and I would say to anyone, like, if anyone, I mean, I imagine if you haven't read Twilight, you're not watching this stream, or you haven't gotten this far in this stream. However, my recommendation, though, would probably be, if you were going to read Twilight for the first time, read, first book, second book, third book. Bree Tanner, you can choose to do before or after Breaking Dawn, even though it goes with eclipse. Do either or, because it adds a bit of insight for Breaking Dawn that you might not want until after the fact. And then read Midnight Sun, because it spoils a lot for the rest of the series. We get a lot more stuff that we don't find out until later on. But if you're going to reread it, read this directly after Twilight, because
Yeah.
So if you're rereading, read it directly after Twilight. If you're not if you're reading it for the first time, read it after everything. Would be my thing, because it adds way too much that it's going to shift the way that you see a lot of the characters in the second, third, and fourth book. And fuck though, I love Rosalie in this book. She's such a bitch. And I love that we get to hear a lot more of her being sassy.
I've always enjoyed her.
Oh yeah, and any book that gives me more Rosalie and Emmett, I'm gonna enjoy those parts of it, because Emmett, like, we knew that he was a fun big brother type and everything like that, but we didn't get to see it a lot. We more just got told Emmett likes to pick on me because I fall over a lot.
Yeah.
Can we witness Emmett picking on you a little bit?
And we got to witness it. We got to witness Emmett wrestling a grizzly bear, and that was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, because Edward was like, why? And he was like, because.
It's fun. But I also just loved as well, like, Emmett's wrestling this bear because he likes to fight them before he kills them, because, what else can he do? And then he's just like, you ripped my shirt. Rosalie got me this shirt. How dare you? And and it was also kind of interesting as well at the beginning, Edward describing how he felt about reading the other Cullens' minds. He was like, I never feel guilty about reading Emmett's mind, because he thinks that he says it. It's what he does. Jasper's mind is depressing because, he's miserable. Rosalie's an awful place to be, because it's just all Rosalie, and stuff like that. And it was kind of cool to get like those little
more relationships between the Cullens.
Like, there's so many cool little tidbits in there. It's just I just didn't enjoy it.
Also, like, Esme. Was really sweet. Like, it was so sweet. And also getting more of Carlisle was really fun. Like, it was just,
I do love Carlisle.
all of that was fun. Like, I love the Cullens. They're great characters. And you know what? I'm gonna hot take. I think that Stephanie Meyer would do way better as an author if she just wasn't writing romance.
Yeah, like, what would be really fun if we got a series of short stories about each of them, like, becoming vampires, and
like back when they were humans and stuff.
Like, that would have been cool.
We found out that James was there when Alice.
Yeah.
Oh, like, we got a hint of that in Twilight, but it was it was expanded on in this. Alice is the one vampire that ever got, or the one target that ever got away from him. And we got more detail about that in this, which was pretty.
That was like the one. That was, I think, the one thing that had me like actually like fully. I think that was like the one point in this book that I was like fully engaged, and I was like, "Holy shit, really?" Like,
yeah, and the ballet scene, like the ballet studio scene, was because from Bella's perspective, she's getting the shit beaten out of her, and then she's just like writhing in pain until she passes out.
Yeah.
But we got to hang around for that because we got to be there. And then Edward watching the tape was kind of like, that was a bit of a dark scene.
Yeah,
I will say that. But
that also went on too long.
Exactly.
It went on like there was just way too much. No, if she lives through it, I can watch it over and over and over again. It was just like, okay, we get it. If she lived through it, you can watch it. Can you just watch it, please? But it was kind of cool to see it from a perspective that wasn't from Bella's perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her perspective
To know
was so
actually what's
cool.
happening.
But it was also kind of cool to get a bit more insight into Victoria and Laurent as well.
Mm-hmm.
And when Edward gets back to Forks and he goes to just make sure that Charlie's still alive and well, and Charlie's just sitting there on the lounge alone without the TV on. Sad. I'm just like, honestly, Charlie has been done dirty.
Charlie deserves so much. Deserves such a good life.
I mean, I'm so glad that he ends up being able to be a part of, Bella and Renesmee's life. Like,
yeah.
Even more glad for it now. Because I'm just like,
honestly, poor
fucking Charlie.
Like, someone give Charlie a hug.
Like, and you can just imagine though that he spent countless nights like that before Bella came home. Like, before Bella came to live with him.
Yeah.
He would just sit there going, my wife and my daughter are gone. My wife took my daughter away.
Yeah, fuck Renee, honestly. Like, no.
Honestly, Renee, I don't like Renee at all. Like,
Renee's thoughts when Bella was like, no, Mom, I live in Forks, and Renee's just like, but why? How could you are too much like, and she's thinking you're too much like your father. How absolutely dare you? And
that person. I'm sorry.
Like in Twilight, that scene read as like Renee knew that Bella didn't enjoy Forks because probably every time she came home from visiting Charlie, she was just like, Mom, I don't want to, I hate Forks. So I think, can Dad come visit me next time?
Mm-hmm.
And so she was, it seemed more like, just like, oh, this is unexpected, but sure. Whereas, when you're actually in Renee's head in the scene, it's just like, you're a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, we should have known this as well, considering when Bella used the same words Renee used when she left Charlie to leave Charlie. We tried it out, it didn't work, and I just really hate Forks. And I'm just like, we should have known
that she was a cunt. Yeah.
Yeah, that she's just a brat, an overgrown brat. Because who has, when you're taking a man's only child away, when you're taking away his baby, because Bella was like a year old or something when
she was a baby.
If the only word you have to say is, we tried it out, it didn't work, and I really hate Forks. If that's your closing statement, when you're taking a man's baby away, you're a selfish bitch.
Mm-hmm.
You're a I can't.
Fuck Renee 2K20.
Yeah, fuck Renee 2K20.
I can't stand her. She's a fucking mutt. I'm sorry. I'm just
Charlie.
Just Charlie sitting there alone in his normal seat, just sitting there sadly,
not looking at an off TV.
I'm just like, that broke me a little bit.
Yeah, honestly.
Like, actually, I'm not gonna lie, it didn't quite break me when I was reading it. It broke me when I remembered it after I was finished reading. Because again, most of this I didn't enjoy as it was happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking back, I enjoy knowing it. And
yeah, looking back, there's a lot to like about the book. It's just like actually slogging through all the horse shit in between all the stuff that's good is like,
It's a
I mean,
chore. It's a chore to read.
like, I don't know how I would feel if I was actually just reading it though. Because did you skim through the angst at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, see,
Oh yeah, it was still too long
listen,
though.
yeah, listening to it, you can't skim. You kind of just have to sit there and wait for the angst to be over.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
listening to
skipped
it's
quite a
different.
bit of the angst.
One thing we haven't talked about is when Edward smells Bella for the first time. Like, we briefly touched on it, but like okay, so we know.
Oh my God, yeah.
We know from Breaking Dawn how fast their minds work, because
Yeah.
when Bella jumped up and the whole room reacted and everyone changed places.
Yeah.
And they did the Macarena in 0.36 seconds.
Yeah.
So we know how quickly it all works.
Yeah.
In the time that it takes Bella to take that full step, he has already planned murdering
Everyone in the room.
I'll kill her, then I'll have
her.
to kill everyone. And then he's like, wait, no, because that'll cause a ruckus. I'll have to kill the whole school. No, I'll have to kill everyone first and then kill Bella, and her scream won't be enough to blah, 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 and this and that. And
Yeah.
it's just like,
That's why I said the first part of this book is just him imagining how he wants to murder her. Like, that's not how you start a relationship, Edward.
It's a lot. Like, it's a lot. And then also when he's like trying to change classes, she walks in, he's like, and he doesn't hear her think of him, sorry. And so he's like, okay, so somebody didn't like notice me or give a shit. And then he turns and he like agrees or whatever. And then he's like, pork or whatever. And so then he's like, okay, so all I have to do is kill the secretary. And
but also the secretary's thoughts.
Yes.
Oh my God, yeah.
He's like, I'm married.
Yeah,
I'm
so
married.
The secretary is like, oh my God, his penis, but I'm married. But
And I'm so young.
17-year-old dick.
Pedophilia.
I will say, it's funny though, because like when she passes out from the blood typing and he runs into the secretary again,
she's like, oh,
yeah, and then he's just like, hang on a second. Bella reacts physiologically the same to her whenever she's near me. Maybe she's not afraid. Maybe she wants to do a bone. And then so that's when he starts thinking about and I'm just like, how have you gone through 80 years of being able to, without making the connection that apparently actually it's not actually that funny, but arousal and fear have a lot of similar physical responses, Edward, and it just never clicked to him that
it doesn't. And then the entire time, like, Edward still doesn't, even after he has the thought, like, maybe Bella just wants my dick, he's still like the entire time like, no, she's definitely afraid of me. And then it's not until Bella says to Jessica, I think Edward likes me more than I like him, or I like Edward more than he likes me, that Edward's like, is it possible? Is it no. He doesn't even go on. He just goes, is it possible? Is it possible? Do I get
the angst.
Do I give it to Summer Night? Summer Night's Dream. That she wants my pee. And then we just have to sit there, like, listening to that.
Yeah. I do like as well. Let me actually see where the leak ends, because I feel like I might have known this. I've got the leak here. Let's find where it ends.
Is that a whole thing? Like,
okay, yeah, no.
Also, like 50 people want to fuck him, just like he reads their mind. They're like, wow, I really want to boink Edward right now. Yeah, and I'm like, can y'all stop?
So the leak finishes when they have the conversation where it's like, tomorrow it's my turn. Your turn to ask the questions. That's where the leak ends. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this was in it. The guys that tried to do a rape-a-doodle.
Mm-hmm.
So it turns out that they were more or less just following the one guy's lead. Half of them were like,
yeah,
we're going to do this type thing. I guess we should, because he's a crazy fucker. We find out he's also wanted for murder in multiple states.
Yeah.
And Edward isn't just initially he's like, okay, Bella's fine. And then he's like, but what about everyone else? what about everyone else type thing. And so it's like, Carlisle, I want to kill him. And Carlisle's like, well, let's not kill him. Let's not do that. Let's be responsible. So then Carlisle like takes him to a different city. Like he kidnaps him, takes him to a different city, and knocks him out the front of a police station. So he gets arrested. So there's closure on that. Edward's not letting a murdering rapist just wander.
Just to go free.
So that
we also find out. Wait,
I'm just saying that's nice. That's nice. To know.
We also find out in the epilogue that Edward was already planning on doing a yeet even before Bella's bloody incident at the Cullen house.
Yeah, he was
already like thinking about it. Yeah. Which is, I mean, this is good to know that Newman would happen no matter what. But it's also sad.
But Alice also, like, that Edward and Alice were also fully aware as to how she would react. So Edward was more or less sticking around hoping that, you know, she'd grow up and outgrow him. He should have known better. But,
yeah, really.
But, you know, like, that was all foreseen. The waitress in Port Angeles also amused me. This was also in the lake. Oh, because a lot of this I didn't remember, but as I was reading it, I'm like, this sounds really familiar. So when they go to dinner and the waitress is flirting with him and the hostess is flirting with him, the hostess is just like, well, she's obviously not his sister. They don't look enough alike. She has to be his cousin, though, because, like, they can't be together. Look at her.
Which is rude, by the way.
Well, she didn't say it out loud.
Yeah, but like I'm also just so tired of women wanting to fuck Edward, man. Like
I know.
We get it. Like we get it. All right, he's supposed to be hot.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. There's a lot. Like there's so many little things that I really like knowing. Like I keep saying this, but I just wish I had enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll enjoy it on a reread. If I ever build up the will to listen to a 26-hour book, because that was one of the things as well. Like, I mean, I've like Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I think in audiobook time it's like 30 hours long. But at any given point, there's about 5 or 6 different plots happening.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
This book doesn't have the benefit of plot.
No.
It's got one plot.
Yeah, because Twilight didn't have.
Yeah, it's girl meets boy. Boy freaks out. They get together.
Yeah.
That and then at the end there's a bit of a kerfuffle with another vampy vamp. Like that's the plot of Twilight.
Yeah, it's just boy meets girl kerfuffle. That's it.
And Twilight it was fine. It was fine.
It was an appropriate length. Appropriate enough.
If you're gonna have a 26-hour long book, you want subplots.
Yeah. Like
there is no subplot. Like, yeah, I feel like if Twilight had at least like 2, like, cause like, you know,
honestly, Mark Lawrence is the only person that can pull off a 26-hour book with no plot.
I was fine with like, because again, like Order of the Phoenix is like about 30 hours long, and it's fine because there's about 50 million different things happening in that book. Well,
honestly, like when you're listening, because I don't remember how long the Wheel of Ashheim is. I think it's like 24 hours long. The Liar's Key is, but it's just walking.
Yeah, but it's fine because I feel like it like that. It didn't feel like he was just walking the whole time.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it, and I don't know why, but like it just didn't feel like that.
Like all of his, like the 6 books that we've done for book club, like most of those, like 4 out of 6 are them just going for a walk or going for a boat sail. It works.
Yeah, and like it's just like so much happens. Like so much happens in those books that you're like, ooh, that, and yeah, I don't know. But
when 12 out of the 26 hours is Edward, like I must, but I can't. But I must, but I can't. You know.
And honestly, I texted this to you guys, but I was like, Edward needs to fucking masturbate. I swear to God. Because the other thing is that half of the book is also spent by Edward being like, so I ate the entire forest and it's not helping. And I'm like, then masturbate, you dumb bitch. Like,
It's not
try that.
It's you're horny, buddy.
Like, I'm like, whack one out. Like,
but like I told you, though, it's not his fault.
I know it's not his fault.
It's Stephanie's fault.
I know it's not his fault.
Yeah.
But like, if eating isn't working, maybe that's not the problem. Because like, you know that you're lusting. Like, pull up Pornhub and just.
But Mormons don't masturbate.
Yeah, that's true.
And Edward is unknowingly Mormon. It's not his fault.
I know it's not his fault, but like, it would have helped. It would have helped really hard.
But also, would you rather read him jerking it?
If it would have gotten some of the angst out, yes.
I'll take a 5-paragraph.
I would have taken a 5-paragraph jerk off scene just to cut down this book length by like 7 hours. I would honestly, I would take that trade.
You want to hear about Edward spewing venom everywhere? Is that?
Yes, like if it cuts down this book length, abso-fucking-lutely.
What about when he makes out with her and his mouth fills with venom? What about that, guys? How do we feel?
So I have a question. If you swallow venom, like if you eat it,
I think it's fine. I think it's like AIDS.
But if you eat something, it still gets into your bloodstream.
No, but the stomach acid might destroy it first. Like.
All right. Well, now we have to tweet Stephanie Meyer and ask her.
I think it's like AIDS because from memory, like if you swallow something that's AIDS infected, you're fine. It's only if it enters you directly into your bloodstream.
Mm.
I could be wrong on that though. I could do not go swallowing AIDS blood based on this.
Damn it! You ruined my Tuesday plans.
I'll be right back.
But there's a lot of things that if you swallow it, you're fine. But if it enters directly into your bloodstream, not good. I feel like it's like that.
Probably. Well, because but it's like you're probably right. When he boinks her, she doesn't turn into a vampire from his venom going into her uterus.
Which is weird because but like when let's not question that. Oh, the tea thing, because he licks her tea.
Oh,
and then we get a bit more information about the vampire physiology, about how when they drink blood, it absorbs into their system, but anything else, it kind of just stays there until they make it exit. So then he's like, if I never expel this, her tea will stay inside me forever, and I will always carry that piece of her inside of me. And I'm just like, that's creepy.
That's disgusting.
That's so creepy. Like,
that goes in the trade for 5 paragraphs of masturbation. Fuck it, make it a chapter. 1 chapter to get rid of all this. Just stupid angst.
Yeah. I mean, I will never not enjoy the goggle at me, you bat face. Oh, goggle at me, will you, you bat face little nuisance. I feel like that is the epitome of best book quote.
What is?
Rosalie's goggle at me, will you bat-faced little nuisance.
Yes,
I loved that line so much. But yeah, we're just talking about the grossness of him swallowing her tea.
Yes. What
it
the
will
fuck?
stay with me forever.
Was that in the original?
Yes. He licked her tear in the original. I will say as well, though, part of it, because his dialogue and his inner monologue, there's usually a little bit of clarity when listening to an audiobook, the difference between your inner monologue and your dialogue. In this, the audiobook, it wasn't as clear, so it sounded like when he was telling Bella about, Rosalie brought Emmett to Carlisle, and then he had his flashback scene. It sounded like he was telling her this whole thing. I'm like, this didn't happen. He never told her any of this. You can't invent dialogue into it, Stephanie.
Yeah.
But then it clicked. I'm like, oh, it's probably like later on. Yeah, it clicked that was his
Flashback.
Yeah, it was his inner monologue, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, because at least in audiobook form, it flowed into like those flashbacks so abruptly that like suddenly I was like, wait, what?
How did we get here?
And I'm like, why are we in the 30? Like, what the fuck is happening? But then I was like, oh, okay, it's a flashback.
Yeah. But when they were also trying to find James, that was kind of cool as well, how they were using Alice's visions to help them chase him.
Mm-hmm.
Because they worked out, like, they ended up picking, like, default directions. And so Alice is texting him who, based on the directions that they're running, who's going to find the scent. So that made it, like, yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. Because also Bella was asleep for this entire scene.
Yeah.
So, the nurse didn't like Edward, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But no, there's more scenes in this than was in Twilight, because Edward's obviously awake every time she's asleep. And again, her descriptions of times where Edward isn't around is just like the next few days pass in a blur, with no Edward, whereas we're with Edward the whole time. And
he's always stalking Bella, so
yeah. So like every time that Edward's not there, turns out
Edward's actually there watching her read books.
So while Bella was actually functioning pretty okay without Edward there, Edward was not doing good.
Yeah. The Bella almost getting hit by the van as well. That scene was kind of interesting from his perspective, because Alice had a vision where Bella gets splattered.
Mm-hmm.
And then Edward's like, no, I must save her. And then just the detail as well of, like, him trying to, like, get rid of his handprint, and then Emmett thinking at him, I'll clean up anything you missed type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, Emmett's a bro.
Emmett is a bro.
And like Emmett's protectiveness of Bella, like after the baseball scene and everything, that was really cute, because we didn't get to see that.
Yeah.
But it was just so long.
It was so long.
I don't even know, like, how.
It's hard to reconcile like all the good with the everything that was bad.
Like, it's really annoying, because I liked it, and then it would just like I liked the stuff, but I was just like, I cannot wait for this read to be over. The whole time I'm like constantly going to Stixie saying, I still have 6 hours to go, like, I'm complaining the whole time. And then, like, when I finished, I ran out to him and started doing jumping jacks in the kitchen, and he's like, what? I'm like, it's done, I finished. And then it was only after I started thinking about the book that I was like, I like all this stuff.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, it was good, except it wasn't good. Like,
yeah,
it's good in hindsight, but it wasn't enjoyable to read. And that's the hardest thing to reconcile.
Yeah. Like, I'm glad that it's in my brain, but
I'm glad I know this stuff, but
I don't want to consume the material ever again.
No. Yeah. No.
So that's kind of what we're left with.
Yeah.
So.
I just want to check as well, because I know that some of the chapter titles are the same. I just want to check and see if they're all the same.
While you're doing that, do we have another series picked out for Bad Book?
No, but can I request we do something not insufferable and actually like fun?
Well, my next suggestion is insufferable, so I will.
Is it fun and insufferable?
It's not quite to House of Night level of annoying, but it's almost like it's about 80% there because nothing will ever get to House of Night, you know.
No.
Let me pull up our list.
Yes.
But yeah, no. If we want to be like infuriated at the characters again, like and especially at the MC, my suggestion is Soul Screamers.
Those are fun. Like that's just fun.
So we can do that.
And I low-key feature in the series.
Yeah, there's Soul Screamers.
Addie needs an explanation.
There are more Jenny books. We have so many Jenny books.
We can do. Are there any like one-off Jenny books that we can do as like a palate cleanser from series?
Yes, there are a ton.
Do you want to bring up this synopses? Let's open you.
One moment. Okay. So. Let's see. It's been 10 years since Sasha Keaton left her West Virginia hometown, since she escaped the twisted serial killer known as the Groom. Returning to help run her family in means being whole again, except for one missing piece, the piece that falls into place when Sasha's threatened. An FBI agent, Cole Landis, vows to protect her the way he couldn't a decade ago.
Yes.
There it is.
Yes. Which one is that?
Till Death, Jennifer L. Armentrout.
Oh,
Okay,
right.
Give me a second. I'll see if I have it because I might have it. Till Death. Is it double L in the till?
Yes.
Or one L? Okay. Maybe I didn't. Oh. Till.
And babe, what are we on?
I have them.
We have to
the
finish
last Wildcats.
Yeah, we have to finish the last Wildcats.
And are we going to switch our time zones for that one? Are we going to trial our old time format for that?
Do we want to try it?
We're doing a billionaire cat shifting romance.
You know what? I don't think for that one, but are we going to do Morganville next?
Oh, yeah, let's do Morganville next.
Okay, for Morganville, we'll switch back.
Okay.
I think in honor of like the classics.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Till Death I've got, guys. So
Cool.
In honor of the classics, we'll give it the old college try, if you will.
Okay. Fucking hell. Are we going to also do the Morganville short stories anthology?
What? Is it short stories anthology?
Yes, and I have.
Didn't know about that.
I don't enjoy like books. I think it's like from book 11 or 12 onwards because that's when they change narrators and she ruins Mernon and Eve and literally everyone.
Great.
Also at some point as well, I have all of the Partholon books by Partholon series by PC Cast.
That's on our list. Everything by Kristen Cast is on the list.
And that's going to be
their website again.
And that's going to be interesting because it's PC Cast, but they're narrated by Lorelei King. So that's the series that Lorelei King, yeah.
I could cry.
I could
cry.
I'm still so confused what happened to Die Sisters.
Because
they completely scrubbed it.
Well, you're buds with her on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I am buds with her on Twitter.
Why did you do an Ask?
I could be like, oh, are we getting a second Die?
I was
really
really
looking
looking
forward
forward to it.
And they at
I
some
loved
point,
I loved the pictures.
while we're doing Morganville, we have to continue like the Lux series. We gotta, and that also
Is that
That's
Agape?
just Shiny Green Alien. No, that's Puppy.
no, that's Kitten. Close, but no.
Yeah, no. Lux is Kitten.
Lux is Kitten.
Yeah, no, they're Shiny Green Aliens.
Oh, we
Oh.
have a brief synopsis for PC and Kristen Cast's new book since they just decided to abandon Die Sisters.
Yep.
So it's called Sisters of Salem.
Oh,
Yeah.
It said twin sisters who discover that they are not only witches, but they have to save their small town and the world from imminent destruction. That's all we got so far.
Do they have? I want to know. Do they have elemental magic? Because that seems to be their thing. I'm not gonna lie. I am not gonna be satisfied until there's a reason why I finished House of Night long before book club was a thing. Even after I was sick of it, I just needed the closure. I had to know, and I don't think I will be okay if Dies Us if it never gets finished. I need to know.
Yeah.
I need the closure.
So she has on her website a list, like an Excel spreadsheet of all of her books.
And it's not on there.
Die Sisters is not on here.
Ask.
And it has newest titles are highlighted. Yeah, Found is highlighted, Sisters of Salem is highlighted, but Die Sisters is not even fucking on here.
What the fuck?
Can you please tweet her?
I'm so scared.
I am begging of you.
I don't want her to unfollow me. I have a direct line of communication with PC Cast, and she has responded to me more than once when I tweet her. And normally it's immediate responses. I feel like a sham of a person. I'm like, I don't like you.
But I like being able to contact you.
Yeah.
But I will say this: when we do the 2 Lux books, we have to do them at our old time slot.
That's fine.
I feel like that's important, because we did the whole Covenant series at that time slot. We did all those.
We didn't do Apollyon at that because I was in labor for. No, it was the one before that. It was the one before Apollyon, I think. Apollyon was done when he was a week old. So the one before that was done during the day while I was in labor, so close enough. We didn't know though.
Yeah, because during that stream we were like, wouldn't it be funny if you were in labor? Anyway.
All right, how should I phrase this? Just are there any updates about Die Sisters 2?
Oh no, just be like, I've noticed that that Die Sisters is gone from your website.
I don't want to say that. I want to
just ask if there are any updates on Die Sisters 2. Just
because I'm really looking forward to it.
I wanted to add that, but I already tweeted her. I can reply to my own tweet and be like,
reply to your own tweet because I'm really looking forward to it. I loved the pictures.
I'm really looking forward
to it. And I loved
the art
the
was amazing. Really looking forward to it. The art was amazing. Tweet.
Seriously, I need more. I need more scenes of them Motown dancing and singing "Storms Away." I need
to know if Marty scrubbed it.
And I need to know when they decide to change.
I really want her to tweet you and be like, Die Sisters doesn't exist.
Be like, we didn't write that.
With your imagination. You had a dream.
It was a big, massive fever dream from a lot of people. From thousands of people.
Because I also need to know when the characters decide to change the I in disasters to a Y to make it the Die Sisters. Because in the book it was spelt correctly. Plus, also, I need to know what happens to Rock Girl, the girl with like rocks growing out of her arm.
I'm also looking it up on Goodreads to make. Okay, so it still exists on Goodreads.
Yeah, it still exists. That's what I'm on there.
I don't think they have the option to delete it.
But the second one is gone from Goodreads.
Well, the second one was like a graphic novel.
But I am also. Do we want to look at the ratings for Midnight Sun? Some rage reviews.
Oh yeah, I mean we're here.
You know what? I can't find any of the reviews that I like looked on at YouTube and went, I'll look at that after. Like all of the ones I could find were like mostly positive. The like one of the biggest complaints I found on any of the reviews I looked at was about the scene where, because we didn't talk about this, because we also get to like, you know, we get more information about when Edward decided to go be a rebel and kill people and how he only killed the bad guys, about the scene where he more or less waited until the guy was about to diddle the kid before he killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I get it. I get why he waited.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't done anything. And you don't kill, like, you don't execute people based on, you know, an error, like on a want. You know, he had to wait until the guy was actually going to do it before he killed him. But he did it before he diddled the girl, so that's fine. But there was some, I did see some complaints that he waited to kill the guy.
So one of the first rant reviews is someone talking about how Meyer had no problem saying that Edward wanted to slaughter the entire Quileute tribe. And that's problematic. And like, yeah, we talked about that was a bit
Look, I feel like that's an extreme.
it was a lot.
But I feel like their thing comes from a white woman wrote about a white character wanting to kill a Native American tribe. I feel like that's probably where where the issue is coming from. But
yeah.
And if Edward was like, oh yeah, no, those filthy Indians, sure. But based on his reasons, etc., I don't see that as overly problematic.
I have a fun paragraph.
Oh, okay. Give me a fun paragraph.
This grueling look into the mind of obsessive sociopath vampire Edward Cullen would have been impossible to slog through if it weren't for my overriding sense of nostalgia and curiosity for how much worse things could get. After over 600 pages of Edward's American Psycho-inspired internal monologue, even I, a loyal, dues-paying member of Team Edward since 2008, was forced to question whether or not Edward truly belongs with Bella or in prison. Like, I'm not going to get up here and bash her like everyone else, but she needs help.
Look, so somebody listed out some red flags from this book.
Oh, yes. With actual like red flags next to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Edward's teacher has an obvious crush on him. She's the secretary. Calm down. Edward is completely homicidal. He spends the first 10th of this book actively wanting to kill Bella and plotting how to do it, then falls for her in about 2 seconds, and then instead thinks about killing almost any dude who comes close to her. Bella is not like other girls, and one of the reasons is because she doesn't wear makeup. A lot of girls wear makeup, sweetie. Edward is a creepy stalker. He breaks into Bella's house at night and wakes and watches her sleep / sniffs her. We knew this, though. Like, we knew this.
Yeah, but it's still a creepy stalker.
It's definitely creepy. But, yeah. The theme of gang rape of women in this book comes up more than once. Bella is almost raped while out in Port Angeles, which is basically a moment for Edward to play the savior and is a catalyst for the start of their romantic relationship.
But that's from Twilight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like...
The misogyny in this book is something else. I don't know what the misogyny, though. What?
It's probably because he's overprotective of her, but it's like, well, to be fair, that's not a misogynistic thing. That's a he's almost invincible, and she is like the klutziest person he's ever seen.
Yeah,
that honestly is just that's honestly just a thing of like any superpowered thing being in love with a human is like.
But also, I don't see. Again, Edward takes it to an extreme. sure, but it feels like though all of the vampires are overly protective of their significant others in general, like their mates.
Yeah.
They're obsessive with their mates. Like that's across the board. But there's nothing inherently wrong with a guy being like, hey, you who can trip over yourself standing still, let me wrap you in a little bit of cotton wool. I don't think that's misogynistic. I think that's fine.
Edward says that Bella puts herself in danger. This places the onus of Bella's lack of safety on her, rather than the men who stalk, try to harm her, try to kill her, and just generally endanger her. I mean, there's also all the other stuff that happens to her.
Yeah, and I mean, like, yes, in theory, it would be nice if a person could walk through a dark, abandoned alley without coming to harm. However, most smart people don't do that.
Yeah.
Because the probability is not in your favor.
Edward constantly reads the minds of other people to keep tabs on Bella. Hello, invasion of privacy. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and he does acknowledge that though as well. I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but he knows.
No, Edward needs a straitjacket. Edward is low-key controlling when it comes to Bella. Low-key, honestly, justice for Bella. She's essentially devoid of personality. I don't think she's really devoid of personality, though.
She gets more personality in this book, I feel like.
They flesh her out more.
One instance of this is when Edward asks her what music she likes, and it's basically what her mom likes. You know what I actually think, though? I think that's actually an example of her having more personality, because having someone not that interested in music, I don't think that's lack of personality. I think that's actually kind of interesting.
Well, because every character loves their music. One thing though that frustrated, it didn't frustrate me, but it made me roll my eyes a little bit, is the books that Bella likes are all of you study in AP English.
Yes.
Literary classics. That to me is a sign of a lack of a personality when
I agree.
Favorite books.
Yeah.
But the lack of interest in music, like I go through phases. There's times where I'll go 6 months without listening to music by choice at all, and then there's other times I've just got music constantly playing. It just depends on the time of day. But not time of day, but in general. But liking what your parents listen to, that's pretty normal. Because those are the songs of your childhood.
Yeah, and if she's not somebody that's actively interested in music, I mean, that's not weird. It's that's fine. I don't think that's a lack of personality. I think that's probably just somebody who really likes music, thinking that makes somebody boring inherently. But look, Edward. This took Edward from a creep factor of 10 to a creep factor of 20. I'm not saying that that's not true. But I think that as far as Bella's agency goes, I think Bella has about as much agency as someone thrust into the situation can possibly have. And
I think they're also they're looking at the obvious stuff and they're ignoring this Twilight and in Midnight Sun, and in all the books actually. Edward gives her a lot of choices, and
he does.
He's being so generous, giving her a lot of choices. But and he also heeds her advice a lot more or listens to what she wants to do a lot as well. For example, when she's like, no, I need to go home. And he's like, fuck, no, you're not going home. And then she's like, no, but Charlie and this and that and rah, rah, rah. He's like, that's actually a brilliant idea. Let's do that. So, I mean, I feel like maybe if he didn't think it was a good idea, he would have said, well, no. But also in that situation, that's life and death. And half the situations where he overrules Bella's choices is because it is a matter of life and death, usually. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if someone is trying to save your life, that doesn't make them overly controlling. Edward is controlling. I'm not diminishing that, but I feel like people often paint him as a lot more controlling than he actually is.
He's more stalkery than he is controlling.
They they take a lot of his controlling behavior out of context, like him trying to stop her from going to see Jacob and stuff. He knows what young wolves are like and how easily they can lose control. Like, look at Emily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that I think that people, sorry.
Like, she is the most beloved thing to Sam on the planet, and he mauled her face.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think people also kind of ignore, even in the original books, the level of, like, the amount of backbone that Bella actually has. I mean, because the entire time Bella's like, no, I know what I want. I want to be a vampire. And
Mhm.
Edward's like, I just don't want to turn you into a vampire. And she's like, well, I will make you bite me in your sleep. So fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
And
don't
like
care.
and what she does at the end of New Moon, where she's like, Edward, you don't get a say in this anymore. It's everyone's decision.
Yeah.
Everyone here is going to get in trouble if I don't become a vampy vamp.
Mhm.
And she's like, well, no, fuck you type thing. And she does. And even when he tries to, keep her from seeing Jacob in Eclipse and stuff, she's like, no. And she goes anyway. And then so he learns to trust her ability to take care of herself to an extent. While remembering also that she's the klutziest person on the planet who, again, can easily break her arm standing still.
That's the other thing is, like, it's not like a lot of other MCs where they're genuinely not klutzy. They made up the story that Bella fell down the stairs and fell out a window. And everybody went, yeah, okay.
That makes sense. Sounds like Bella.
And so, like she is actually a clut, which is
like, and we see it a lot, especially throughout Twilight. I think is when we see it the most.
Yeah.
But like, she's walking. She's like just before she almost gets hit by Tyler's van. She's clutching onto the side of her truck so she doesn't stack it.
Yeah.
And she still almost stacks it about 4 times.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just walking normally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she is actually klutzy. And so, like, and, you see a lot more of it in Midnight Sun, but I think to say that Bella has no personality, especially after Midnight Sun, is like, like, her personality is definitely subdued, but that's still a personality.
Yeah.
It's just not like an out there mouthy personality, which is what you see out of most books these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Bella is quietly strong.
Yeah, and not sassy. Like, somebody not being sassy doesn't mean that they don't have a personality.
I mean, like, and she can be quite sarcastic. We don't like one of the things as well that I think that like there's just lots of little bits of her personality thrown in there. Like when he spends the night at her place, we find out in this book he didn't spend the whole night there. Probably like the one night that she's given him permission to be there, he doesn't be there all night. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
But like when he's like, time for breakfast, and she clutches her throat, being like, like, you're gonna eat me. Like she has like little jokes like that, which I think, she has a much more quieter thing to her. She's not like, Alex, you're so awesome.
Yeah, like she's not like Rosalie is, and like she's just not outwardly sassy, but I think a lot of people mistake that for just, so she has no personality. It's like, that's not the only personality, guys. It's not the only one.
No.
It's okay for an MC to not be super sassy.
Yeah.
It's fine. But I think like one of the other issues I'm seeing in the reviews on Goodreads, I've seen it in one. I'm not sure if there's others, but I know that this is an ongoing thing that people have brought up over the years. Stephanie Meyer, because she's a horrible person, did not compensate the Quileute tribe to use their mythology and their peoples in general in her books. However, I think it's also important to note that the Quileute Reservation has a lot of tourist stuff, and their tourism industry has significantly boomed as a result of Twilight.
Yeah.
So it has not been a one-sided thing, I feel.
Yeah.
Because like you look at it and they promote their link to Twilight in their tourism, and I think that's like.
I do have a question though.
Yes.
Would I've just never done it. Would you have to compensate?
No. In no other thing have I ever read complaints, like using anything, have I read complaints about, the culture being referenced, not being compensated. Because it's not a normal thing to do. It's public information. It's not like she went undercover, found out all of this information about them, and then published it. It's all public record.
I mean, it would be normal to say, like, if you honestly, this depends greatly, but if you're doing research and you're going to consult with somebody with like a PhD in something, or you're going to consult with, like, in this case, somebody who's part of the tribe or something like that, you might compensate them, and so you might compensate that specific person in some way for their time.
Yeah.
And some people will ask that of you, some people won't. It depends on the service they're providing. So, like, for example, if you're asking somebody with a PhD in linguistics to translate something for you, then you would pay them for that service. But like, research consultants it just depends on their position, and it just depends on the person whether or not they will ask for compensation, or whether or not they will just talk to you. It can also depend on your relationship to the person. Like, when I've asked my professor, like my personal professors, things for books and stuff like that, I mean, they haven't asked me to pay them because I'm their student, but like, it'll just depend. So I've never heard of that being a thing, especially when something's just public information that you can, access.
Yeah, like Twilight has helped the economy of La Push and Forks as well. Like, even if like people aren't paying specifically to do Twilight things, a lot of people also just want to go there because that's where Twilight based and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Plus also, like, I'm Australian, but I've never heard of them, like that tribe, prior to Twilight. Like, I actually looked at it and I was like, is La Push a legit place? Is this actually where their reservation is? Is this actually a legit tribe? Yes, and yes.
Well, especially after reading House of Night, where you're like, none of this is accurate.
No, like even the stuff that is like partly accurate, the rest is like so completely inaccurate. Like there's so many issues with the Native American side of House of Night. There's so many issues. Whereas this, I feel like the Quileutes were represented
accurately. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
or enough.
Or like
werewolves
or anything that's not like super accurate, you can chalk up to making it fit into Twilight. Like,
exactly. Like, they don't actually turn into werewolves.
Yeah, but they do have that history.
But they have that part of their history where there's legends of the wolves.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, though, if a tribe, like how Twilight would have gone if a tribe with a different mythology associated with it lived nearby instead. Like, because Twilight initially was just going to be 2 books. Like, she wrote, Twilight and Breaking Dawn. Jacob was never going to be a love interest in her original vision. So, like, and we know that the wolf part of it came from, well, 1, vampires and werewolves, but 2, because of the Quileutes like culture. I'm wondering how it would have played out if it was a different culture. Like, if their legends were different, like they turned into sea serpents or something.
Then I guess we have sea serpents instead of werewolves.
Yeah.
if that was the case, if she still would have done wolves, but it would have been a more European werewolf as opposed to a Native American one. So it's interesting to think about, but like we'll never know because that's their legends. But no, I don't feel like she did any sort of dirty to them because one, it's not common practice to do so, and two, they have benefited financially.
Exactly. It'd be like if the city of Covington was pissed off that they were getting tourism from Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, and from what I've seen, I'm not seeing. I haven't actually read anything where the Quileutes themselves are pissed off that she hasn't compensated them.
No, it's literally just reviewers on Goodreads saying, "Here's like links to donations for that tribe."
Yeah, and like I have seen stuff like this over, like this isn't the first time I've seen something like this, but I don't think I've ever seen anything with the Quileutes themselves. So like, we want money, Stephanie Meyer.
And like, I understand why people are hesitant about taking Native American legends and like all that kind of stuff. I understand it. But at the same time, like, it's complicated. Because typically if you're going to write fantasy, even if you're basing it on any legend, you're gonna have to do some embellishing. Like if we're
of course.
If we're gonna talk about like Mercy Thompson, I think she does the most historically accurate legending sourcing from everywhere, but it's still embellished and it's still changed and it's still tweaked to fit the world.
Yeah, I'm doing a Mercy reread. Oh well, Mercy.
I'm doing an Alpha and Omega reread right now.
Yeah, I'm currently on Dead Heat.
That's where I am.
Yeah, because I'm doing them in order of like chronological order between both series.
Yeah.
And so I've just finished Rivermarked.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, let's actually look at this. Coyote. Do you want to know the dirty version of the Coyote's sisters? You know how it's like he was buried in his stomach, and she's like buried in his stomach, and he's like, that's the clean version. The dirty version is they were his droppings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were his poo. But the river monster is a thing that Coyote fought in Native American legend, like the Coyote River Devil thing.
Yeah,
that story is actually a thing. She didn't pull that story out of her ass.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, well, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's
like,
cool,
I mean, like, or hints of it were from different stories, but then also Patricia Briggs also does add into it. There's reasons to believe that this and this are the same thing, and then she made the same.
Yeah, like she does just embellish the stuff to make it work within the world, but she is still pulling from, and it's kind of like the Baba Yaga stuff. Like Baba Yaga's a fae, not a witch. Like, you know, like she kind of adjusts everything.
But then also a lot of the adjustments, she acknowledges the adjustments.
Yeah.
As well, which is not something you get very often.
Right. So, but I think that's kind of with anything. And so I understand the hesitation, especially in current year.
Yeah.
But I think with fiction, it's one of those things, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with American authors who live in America, and if you're going to be talking about American lore, I mean, one of the easier things to pull from is Native American legends.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, because if you're pulling from European legends, like those things aren't native to where you live. But then you run into the other issues. And so it's complicated. You know, you can always bypass that by just making shit up, but
yeah, by making up your own legends, but sometimes you just don't.
Yeah. So So I get it, but it's complicated. I'm leaving it at that. I'm leaving it at it's
Yeah.
complicated, and I guess do what you will at your own risk. I think overall most readers are okay with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's
Sorry, I had
mostly
technical.
you're probably going to get a few rage reviews on Goodreads.
But like,
Yeah, and I think for the most part, like it's fine to get inspiration. If we're still talking about that.
yeah.
We are.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's Midnight Sun.
That is Midnight Sun.
Midnight Sun and some other stuff.
Yep. Midnight Sun and some other stuff as always. So the next thing we're going to be doing is a one-off by Jennifer L. Armentrout for Bad Book Week, and then we're going to be finishing up Wildcats and moving on to the Morganville series with some of the Lux spin-off series thrown in here and there because the Morganville series is a long-ass series. So
it's 16 books.
It's 16 books. So we're going to throw in for Good Book Week a couple of other things that Bay and I have been meaning to do but have been putting off. So
because they're not good.
Because they're not good. But Addie is 17 books behind on that part. So
I can't.
So
This ain't
she
like
can't.
House of Night where I read it before and I just needed to like skim reread it to catch up to you guys.
So during Morganville, we will toss those in just to give ourselves a bit of a break. But that's what's coming up next on Book Club with Bay. But yeah, with that, we will let you guys know what's up next, and we will see you guys next time.